Directing lights and high standard location of synchronicities and location setting or synchronities. Calculates and modify through high travels. Knowing how to modify that position location to a system is to really understand how this all works in digital lines of platforms of communications. The higher lines of communications that you go through consciousness, the more you come in position of your game itself. The game itself is a life force system. It's a position location that's tethered, but it has to be tethered to its primer, just like anything of its co-creation system. Everything in the setting has to understand its relation to its system location of travel. Now, this is a mind of a conceptual setting in line position location to inception. Setting lines of track center location to its system. Now, when the team comes in positions to the 144 platform, they're coming to 72 on Friday. 72 is just coming into the computer framing of black screens, directing single lines of triangulation in high positions. But understanding the mechanisms of the game itself, that's a modification of its model set prototype. Knowing exactly how to put the letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols in the game levels that you're in interactions of. It's a continuous force, an ongoing force, in position, all track location setting, on time, off time, in time, out time. Setting lines of communication setting to understand how to use that into the internal to the external force in one, coming in that position location to the original blueprint of design that you putting yourself into through my primer and track correlation setting to my primer. Primer doesn't matter. What it means to you is all through codification system. So what you're doing, it's kind of like Minecraft. You're creating something so beautiful, so consciously aware. You're coming into the in and the out in position levels to the inner cycles of you. So what you're projecting is what you're projecting out, but it's inside of you. So you're constantly creating new. You've already created through the holographic grid. You've already created through the holographic structure. You've already created through the holographic city. Now you have to come into all levels of just existing and evolving and expanding with yourself and with each other. Okay, all through communication system and travel. Okay. So you guys have your test tomorrow on travel. Now that gets you in positions how do you see yourself in your 72 computer framing system. All right, there's no right or wrong there. You don't need confirmation. You don't need anything a question. Okay, you don't need questions anymore, because what you're doing is the less question your systems, the more it modifies how you calculate in your memory that you're not get in position locations. A question is a question. A question is affinity and one point line graph. Sending track lines in one center of position, one center operation, one track correlation setting, and travel. So how is that a question? See what I mean? So I changed it. So it's a constant continuous flow and a constant continuous system and a constant continuous line connections, how to use the internal and the external force into one cycle, one system, one traction, one locations. One, all right? The plot division location of your settings, knowing exactly how to set up your own gradient system lines of travel in your 144 platform. Setting lines of all dimensional system lines of heading. Process lines of delta heading and travels, 4 lines of graph and communications. Setting platforms on communication setting, process calculate lines, checkers, and chess. Okay, then you go into the next level. Okay, next level basically gets you in the higher lines of communication setting, understanding of what you're doing into the mind and conceptual setting in real time. Okay, from this platform to that platform. So in that position 144, all lines, pawns, rooks, bishops, or any of the set positions of the king or the queen that you co-created in your system will be on your chessboard in traction. All be there in set position. Now, you're here in your 144 in track locations, deciding what you want to do and travel. That's you. And you're looking at your game, what you created through creations of creating. So you have a reclamation bin, up signal, line course centers, line connection setting. That's your reclamation bin, right? So you take the chess pawns off the system and ground lines of service. Like I said, there's 52 cards in a deck, but you're taking out 52, maybe you only have 6. But this is what you're doing in track correlation system. You're taking them out, you're putting them in reclamation bin, you're putting them in folders, you're digitalizing their system. You're going through all communication setting, but you got to be very careful because they're in line signals of own system of timelines and measure that scales communication activation or not, but you have to identify where they are in time setting. And that's all done through telepathy. That's all done through signature patterns. That's all done through clocking system. That's all done through the foundation setting into the high positional keys to its system, right? So the only difference is this is the inversion to inception, where basically everything that you basically created automatically goes inside your system. That's the base. That's the interdimensional database. Now, what you guys have to understand how to modify that and let everything go, a memory that you're not, you understand the game levels that you're in, all right? But that's where it comes into 144. You take the chess pieces, the pawns, the bishops, or the rooks, you know, anything in that positions, and you put them in that position lines and setting. Copy, paste, enabled. Put them in that position locations and frame lines to try to correlate setting. Know exactly what you do. Have to understand through telepathy is understanding the connection setting to their intel and try to correlate the system and travel. Okay? Okay, so when you get to the hardline settings, you come in your digital platforms now. Now you have your certification, your systems, all through platforms of Windows, all through platforms of centers, or all through platforms of triangulation. So what you're doing in position is you're creating an anomaly. So 3 attractions, setting lines of communication setting, and ground lines of surface. Okay? Then you have 1 position, 2 lines, and set position of 3. Okay? Then let's just call this game level 1. Process lines, floor mats, and direct signals of ground lines of surface. Okay? Travels and communication lines of 4 angles, setting lines of 6 locations, and travel. Okay? Modulation 2. All right, so set position triangulation, flux over line. Triangulation goes inside the pyramid. Direct signals, triangulation here, and triangulation here. 3 pyramids in set position in your game. All right? Now, what you have to understand, the characters and the players that you bring inside the game is already in creation of its creating. So in that position lines of high centers, once you bring in your position, your thoughts, action, emotions, they automatically go on your game. The characters and players inside the levels of the game. So you have to be very cautious how you bring them in frequency, and travel in communication system all through tranquil relation system and travel. Okay, they're inside you, they're inside your game now, right? So it's very cautious in that positions and that attractions. Understanding that through influences, all that in line track location that changes everything in manipulations. Manipulations basically is trying to mind alterate the system, lines of travel, but you have to communicate with their intel through telepathy, understand what they're doing in lines of communication system, because they're all levels of inside of you now. Outside, inside position. So you're constantly changing the game levels of you. And everything you bring in characters and the players is that line signals puts all communication in your systems all through track calculation system. Okay? All right. But you get in this through modification first. Okay? So you decide that because you're controlling the game inside you and the characters and the players that you bring inside the game. You're reaching those higher levels now. You are the masters of your game. But you have to stand in that position. You have your grounds, 3 lines of signals, attractions. That's ground level 1, right? So all you're doing now is understanding what you get in position of is creating the structure in set position holographic city. Okay? And this is the board game in set position. See, the avatar oversoul has to identify its existing of its existence. So once it understands that, it understands its platforms of the game because it created through its anomaly of creating, not through creation. So it's an ongoing system in lines of core system, lines of travels, and direct signals of grounds. Setting lines, communication settings of flux, set lines of 3 tractions and 3 positions, 4 travels, point lines of settings, line signal location of graph communications. So we all have to understand how to put the lines together, right? Starting with the grounds and position 144. Platted to division locates the higher lines of clockings into 244, 344, 444, 544, all the way up to 1 million, okay, into the mind capacity, okay, into the percentage of the brain of its waving pattern, creating the actual game that's inside me that's already created. So when you come out of creating, you come out of memory and you come in just all of us existing and all communication, everything happening all at once. That changes everything in track correlation system to its new game center. Modulations in 1 platform, 3 lines of signals of 4. You communicate the system through your formulas of equation, right? Direct lines of platforms in set location system to your earth. Okay, so your earth is always inside through its box frame. Okay, it's always inside the earth. The earth is always inside you. Now, this is 1/3 center. Gets complicated now because you're digitalizing yourself inside tractions. Okay, so that's your earth inside you. Now you're adding the platforms of the game, right? The levels of the game. But you have to link the lines and line position of longitude, latitude, high position of lacing lines, the core set of calculations, screen lines adaptations, Coming out of the snowy graph interference. Once you come out of the snowy graph interference, the interception location in your eyes changes all communications of your primary circuits to your primates. Now, we already talked about the primates in travel, but you have to understand how to create the gain modulation inside of you that changes everything in recourse, the course communication setting that puts everything in existence and channel of operation in travel. Okay? So sending communication lines of ground, so we go through this system and platforms communications. There's so many ways to create it inside your system. It gets lines of communication, lines of balance and traction. Okay, going this way, going that way, doesn't matter, right? So it gets much easier to see yourself inside a projection from outside, from inside of you, all through set position. Okay, and then you can go on this angle. See, this is the changing. You're changing different angles. Okay, this is the changing. So you're changing the mind of alteration of the game. Okay, you're changing, existing, and evolving all at once. It's a constant, continuous flow that keeps going, all through tractions, all through set position, all through the game inside of you. All right, so here's you. Okay, that's you overlooking the game that you basically created through creating. Okay, now here's your positions of what you see, and how you see is how you perceive through consciousness. You decide to bring in the players here, 2 players inside your game, right? All right, so now they're here, right? One's here and one's here. Are you consciously aware of what you're bringing in through frequency? They're inside your game now. They're inside your mind. Okay, they're inside your console. They're inside your gaugings. Okay, so it's very important. So in that position, you go here. You talk to them through the intel inside the mind itself, right? Because remember, you brought them in through attraction. So even if you're not consciously aware, you have to be consciously aware. Because if you're not consciously aware, you have no idea where your thoughts and your actions or emotions are going through creating of the game levels of the game. Okay? So it's very powerful, knowing exactly the characters and the players that you bring inside the game. Because once you come in position to alls, the true authentic self comes back to itself through its true identity that puts everything in balance of all communication system and tranquil relation system. The inside and the outside inside the game itself. Okay? That's where it becomes real. What changes that is how you change your position location to its settings. So anything that you move inside the game is changing everything its reality in real time. Okay? So your mind and the imagination, it's inside the game itself, which is the inner to the outer to the position of the inner circuit. It's an inner circuit. Okay? It's a Colossus communications. It's a Galilee shift line of anomaly. It's a travel in point lines of graph. It's a direct lines of panel. It's an operation system inside and outside, in center of the game that you're in, inside of you. You're creating the infrastructure. You're changing the infrastructure. You're changing the geometrics. You're changing the game levels of you. You're changing your life force. Every time you're changing your reality in real time and frequency. So I want to make it very well clear what you guys are doing through access. Every single time you get in a position and changing things inside changes everything outside in real-time measure, real scale, real balance. Okay, existing and evolving and expanding all at once. Living in cycles and cycles and cycles in all communication setting to your projector, to your projection, outside, inside of you. So once you go inside and outside, you go inside, outside, and inside. And so the 144 platform is the position locations. Basically, you start off with the female cycle to the male cycle, female polarity to male polarity. Now, once you get past the 144, you can create different levels of the game of Minecraft because you're creating different structures. But remember, when you're doing these things, you're also changing your reality, okay, in real time, because you're existing all at once. You're evolving all at once. You're communicating all at once. Everything is happening all at once. And the more you understand that, the more you understand what's going on in the structures of the game, how to play the game, okay, in all positions, and understand the next levels of the game that you're in is just existing and evolving through each other at the same time, measure a scale of clocking. All right, so we get a better understanding how this all works, okay, in the game levels, all right, and set position location 144, or what you bring inside the characters and how to put them where you need to put them, right? So it's about understanding the archives, understanding the position location to its system, see them in track correlation system. A better communication alliance puts all track correlation how to communicate with them through their intent. What's their position lines of cycles? Are they understanding this? Are they understanding this? Are they trying to understand what's going on with you? Are they trying to understand what's going on position? Why am I inside a game that I don't understand myself? And that's what it all comes down to, is your true authentic self, seeing everything that's inside of you in that position that changes everything of its reality and traction. Okay? Okay. But you got to see the changing. That's the changing. You're changing things. So I'm changing the provisions. I'm changing the cycles. I'm changing the grounds. I'm turning this into a pyramid now. 4 signals, lines of ground. See the pyramid and system. There's the pyramid now. It wasn't there before. It is now. So it's constantly changing. Okay? Here's another pyramid. On the other side, position location. See? There's 2 pyramids, right? All right, let's add a portal. Let's stay in the same sequence and set position lines of travel. Indirect signals of 3 lines of flux and 4 communications. There it is. But I'm constantly changing, right? Again, I'm adding another circle to another circle, but I'm constantly changing. See, constantly evolving. Setting position lines of high centers, different angle, different position lines of point lines of graph. Setting communication high position, another box frame. Overline sequence, high position location measure, and scales communication data. Process lines of intel, collecting lines of new data, processing communication through a system. Right? Window frame, travel lines of 3 ground lines, setting communication setting, a 4-line ground communication setting, and the game modulation system of modifications. Changing it again. Setting travels, endpoint lines of graph communication setting, looking through screen lines adaptation. It's constantly changing, right? So my Earth is up here now. It was down here, now it's up here, right? So all you're doing is basically changing the Earth inside you on different levels of sequence lines at different levels of the game, of the levels that you're in position of, dimensionalized of space and time. But it's constantly existing and evolving inside each other in all communications, in all directions, in all clockings of foundations. Okay? Setting sequence, setting lines of panel. That's what makes it so powerful. But what you have to understand, everything that's inside you is consciously aware of you. That's what it is. It's all linked into one panel, one operation, one clocking, one foundation, one timeline, one dimensional system, one galaxy system. Everything's locked in setting. One phone call to all phone calls all at once. All connect to each other in set position inside and outside, inside of us. All right, so it's very powerful when we come in positions, back and home, back in sequence. But look how powerful it is, right? And you can see it constantly moving and travel. See, it shows you exactly what you just finished doing. So travel line is position at all levels, comes into fail safe. You bring it back home, you travel through it in set position. If something's off in track locations, you can move it anywhere you want. If you don't want to have a character here and a player, you can move it lines of signals, indirect signals, it doesn't feel right. You can move the player communications over here in tractions, indirect signals into the earth line and ground, okay? Right there, right? Then you go to set position, that's better in track locations, right? So it's higher levels of involvement in the game level. So it's like Minecraft. So you're directing and redirecting signals and screen lines adaptations of flux. Sets all lines of coordinates in your position locations, how you indicate that position to the inner child in set position. All through tractions. Okay, but travels all at once. Okay, there's the balance. That's why you guys have a fail-safe and understand how to use that in all signals. All right. So in that line signal, in that process and communication system, you not only see yourself more inside yourself, but now you're seeing the real lines of communications. This is you in set position. This is what happens in tractions. All right, directing lines, setting lines of 72 into 144. You're now in the box frame of you. Okay? You're not looking at this anymore. Triangulation, you're not looking at this anymore in set position. This is you now, inside you, through box and triangulation. See? Box, triangulation, box is inside you, right? So the box is the male and the triangulation is the female inside of you. So you're creating the anomalies of you through infinite structures, you in position not through artificial, but in position of the inner shell that puts position lines in connection setting to the outer shell. That puts lines of high set position location in metric meters and scales and balance. Set lines of the inner circuit to the outer circuit to the inner realm. Sets position lines of travels in track location setting, in travel, in communication setting to your galaxy shift lines of anomaly. Changes position lines of seconds, minutes, and hours inside position location attractions in track calculation system. So anything you change here inside of you changes your reality in real time outside of you, inside of you. So that's why you have to be very careful of what you're bringing in a frequency setting, okay? Through alpha, delta, theta, or anything in attractions, okay? That's consciously being aware of what you're bringing in and how you are seeing it through addressing in track locations. You don't want to bring anything through ego inside your game in track locations, all right? All right, so modification of grounds and travels endpoint communications puts everything in travel communicates to its balance. So we start the position lines of one cycle, one center, one traction, one division, okay? Then we add platforms and 3 signals and 3 grounds on setting. So all I'm doing is creating something new through pi, okay? Through metric, through meters, through compass, okay? So setting structure lines in a box frame and position lines of point communications. Direct lines of 1 pattern, 2 patterns, 3 patterns, 4 track locations. Okay, window frame to an open frame track locations. Directing signals to high center and line rotation system over through traction. Directing signals and ground lines of surface, platforms of 1, platforms of 2, platforms of 3, platforms of 4. Okay, sets communication of 1 signal, 1 traction, 1 division location to setting calculations. Ground lines of surface, cross lines of 45, 1 split, 3 lines of angles, 4 lines of tractions, 5 line division location to a system. Another set lines of traction. Setting communication here. All right, that's me. I'm saying, am I okay with this? Of what I created, all right? So if I'm okay with that, let's see if it travels. Okay, it's traveling, but something's off in position, right? There's no correlation system. So conscious line coming in awareness, bring in lines of character in the game. Off lines of signals over cross locations. Left line signal, game line signal comes in track location system. Through all levels, bringing the character of the player in the game that I want to bring in through communications. So is it in balance now? Yes, it is. See? That's what was missing in the game level, right? So now I have this in position. So that position location line centers, checks the energy grids of the crop circle, sending lines of where it is in light signal, setting communication lines of grounds, moving in position to all levels, lines to a pawn, putting on another chess piece and travel to another game level and track locations. Okay, in set position. Very powerful stuff in tractions, guys. And once you understand how to modify that, and once you understand how to modulate that, you understand how to use the space and time through my operations, okay? Okay, window frames, now we're changing, right? This is in position, but as soon as I do this, I'm changing the drawing. I'm changing the schematics. I'm changing the time, I'm changing the structure, I'm changing the primer, I'm changing the correlations, I'm changing the shape and set tractions. See, look at this. You see from this angle, but now I'm changing the space and time of operation of clocking. Look at this in travel. A pyramid, all right? So we're above the signal in position below the system. All right, so set track location lines of 3 centers and 4 communications and setting, okay? Blocking screens, direct lines of 1 in position this way, and 3 settings and 4 track locations. Different direction, all right? Now, I'm going to open up a panel through a portal. Portal comes in sequence into existing through time measure. Okay, very powerful stuff, all right? But for it to work, is it going to travel? All right, no, because the high signals puts high communication setting high lines of travels and 4 lines of flux. Setting communication high travels into dimensional doors. So now we go through the doors. These are the doors in central communication setting. 3 lines of signals, 4 lines of travels, 4 line communication system into the doors and travel communications, high centers and travel. Now there's the doors. Is it going to travel? Yes, it's traveling now because it's in balance, right? So having a fail-safe is basically understanding something that's off. If it's off, you can put position lines, but you got to be very careful what you do through your mind. In position location and keep yourself and observe. Set position of scanning, direct lines, don't get into intent until you understand how to come all levels of existing, all through communication, and everything changing all at once. It's set track location in the game levels of the game. Okay? So I have more fun when you come in that position location with tractions. Okay? Now, in that position, that's me. I'm going to go through the portal. I'm going to create another anomaly of another game system because I'm happy with that game itself. Okay, so that's me going into a portal, right? In the portal, outline, coming into another portal in sequence above the system, on top of the system lines attractions. That's me above now. From there, going from here. So I basically, what I did is I vortexed. Okay, setting signals. Is it traveling through set position? Yes, it is in attractions, right? So that's a complete game level and the next levels of existing of its existence. Done through equation, right? So everything I do inside does everything in reality outside. That's what changes the real time. Very powerful stuff when you understand all position, location, setting from in and out and inside of you. So what you're doing is you're creating an anomaly of position lines, a high position, location, setting. You can start off with 3, 6, 9. You can start off with 9, 6, and 3. You can start off with 1, 6 position lines, and 3 lines, and 9 lines, and 1. You can do whatever you want, right? But what changes everything that you create inside of creating is your intent. And that's what you got to be very careful of what you bring in of your characters and the players inside of you. Okay, understanding that position locations puts everything in balance in set position inside traction. Okay, very powerful stuff. Okay, so I add another signal to another portal, but this time it's a time measure and scale communications on the other side tractions. And then I got to add high position locations. So I'm here, right? So I'm going to vortex here, here, and here in 3 settings. Process here, triangulation here. Set a triangulation of flux and set position all levels of perimeters and parameters and sequence lines into modification grounds and track location. Okay, creating another structure, creating another primer, creating another design, existing all at once, communicating all at once, everything happening all at once. Now, if I want to change the measure of the scale, it changes the core system of timelines and measure. See, another drawing, another design. There's the door, right? So we open up the door and set position to real-time measure. It scales its communication lines of walking surface. Sets position, location, road graphs, and communication setting and travel. Look how powerful that is. Inside position. Constantly changing everything inside your system. Nothing is stopping flow of recognition, okay? Now you guys have to modify these things and really understand how to create those game levels of you, all levels existing all at once. Okay, all at once in set position, do tractions, all right? And you come into this in track locations in set position. Okay, now you're here in set position here. You're standing here now. Okay, now all this is on standby, right? All this is on standby. The only thing you're communicating with is what you're in position of. It's constantly changing everything in the game. All right, so now you can open the high levels of the TV frame. You want a bigger window. You want to see through a bigger window. You want to understand the high position lines, the high travels in a bigger window in set position. Okay, and then you want to go inside the TV. You're inside the TV now, inside of you, looking inside and outside, inside of you in traction. So you went from here to here. Now, flicking the switch overlines this cross location setting above the signals and set position on traction. Okay, now you're coming out, right? You're coming out through the design of its walking surface in track locations. Setting communication high centers in set track location. So you're coming out now. Is it traveling through mechanism? Yes, it is. All right. So it's amazing what you can do in seconds, minutes, and hours inside your traction. Then we go to the ground lines of surface, a center operation system, all through track correlations, to another dimensional door and another time sequence, all through a set tractions, Stargate measure, Stargate panel, process communication lines, 3-dimensional door screens, 1, 2, and 3 in tractions, all through setting in a particle acceleration system. Particle acceleration spin, the cycle's line screen adaptations of flux that overlines the sequence lines of panel and track communications. Setting up the parallels, line position of its proxy, chord lines calculates in the paradigm that polar shifts the settings into its paradoxical system, all through travel. Directing lines of grounds, center lines of surface, and track correlation system. Okay? Or high signals and settings of travel communications. Okay, up, down, swing line, high center interference of travel into a diamond. Okay, so I'm top of the diamond now. All right, so it's amazing what you can do once you send all communications of you. Let's add another diamond, up swing. Remember, all different levels of the games inside of you. You're constantly existing and evolving with your system, constantly changing everything in metric meters of your GLDs, your geometric and geological system, and set visions and set design. You're constantly moving and changing all at once. All right, so I'm on the platform here. Now it's all levels of creating line, position, location, and structure, film strip, direct lines to projector, projection, inside and outside, and inside of me, constantly changing, see? Going from one side to the next side, all right? It says position lines of travel, direct lines of 1, 2, 3, and position lines of 4 travels, direct lines and set position location setting into the upswing location of its building traction, okay? Setting communication height lines as surface. There's the building looking up. See, there's the grounds, there's the top. So if I want to get a high line signal, I change the communication height centers lines as surface attractions. All right, now when you bring color in, all right, you're overriding everything and on standby. Red signals, so start with 2 lines position of data port lines communication. That's high centers of bold. High position lines of travels and track communications. Then we change the center communication system all through setting, right? And then we go into the blue. Blue lines go inside position. Let's bring that in setting more. Okay, we just open the panels in 3 track locations. All right, and then we add green lines and metric meters scales into box frames. Setting lines communication setting, right? So I'm constantly changing all colorations to its matrix. Okay, influx over screen, indirect signals and grounds. Bring it back in sequence, back in panel, back in operation, back in setting, travels position locations, traveling all at once. Okay, very powerful stuff, guys, and me on the grounds, right? So I'm constantly moving myself on different levels inside of me, existing all at once. So if everything's happening all at once, everything's changing all at once. So I just want you to understand how powerful it is when you go inside position, okay? That's outside. Don't get confused now. This is what you're creating when you go inside of 144. You're creating it from inside first. This is what you see is the outside of you. Okay? Inside is what you create first. Outside is what you come into. You see the overall. You see the bigger picture. You see the communications. You see the holographic design that you created inside of you. Okay? All right, signify, high lines centers, high lines of travel, directing line, position, location, measure, and scale. That puts all communication lines of balance and how to modify that position, location, setting, and time measure. Now, what you have to understand, everything that's outside your system, like your phone, your coffee cup, you bring that inside your system, okay? It's already inside your system, but what you have to identify, if you want to change that, you have to go outside to bring it inside and change the formation of its grounds, the powers, the amplitudes that change the network systems of your phone or your coffee cup or anything that bring in attractions. So that's what you're doing. Everything you touch, you're bringing in a new game center, you're bringing in a new character, you're bringing in a new player in the game levels of you. Okay? Very powerful stuff, guys. Okay? Your phone and everything is already inside you, but you have to go outside provision. It's inside you. You have to go outside because now it changed the characters of the players of the game. Your phone is a different shape. Your phone is a different model. It's a different prototype. Same with your coffee or anything you see in set position, location, travel. Direct lines of the inner core to the outer core, inner spectrum to the outer spectrum, inner space to outer space, inner orbit to outer orbit. It's all inside of you. But what changes that is your intent inside of you, okay? To truly understand the game levels of you is the next lines of communications through attractions, okay? Powerful, isn't it? Okay, so that's what you guys automatically come into in set positions. You come into a crystal board game. Okay, and then you just have to understand the levels of the game. Going this way, next level of the game. Triangulation here, platform here, platform here, platform here, platform here, platform here, and signal. Right? And basically you have a box frame, setting lines of a triangulation flame, set position. Change communication lines of angles. Remember, you're changing the lines of time, right? So there's a door, set signals here, set signals here, set signals here, and set position. Okay? And you change it again. Upswing, height position of ceiling, attractions. Okay? And we got a cross line communication lines going in the opposite direct signal and set positions. But then you're adding dimensional doors. You're changing frame, changing communication, sending all lines of space and time through measure and scale communications. Very powerful stuff, guys, all through a box frame and a window frame and a central frame and a communication frame, a high signal frame in communications. Sending direct signals to ground lines of surface and window frame communications. Very complicated stuff, isn't it? But it's very powerful too, right? So box frame is a triangulation flux, setting lines of sequence lines in set position, ground lines of surface and panels of communication interactions. All right, and then you see yourself walking towards the position location of its door interaction. Yeah, that's you, right? So you open up the door and you go through in set position. Outside, you're here, standing here in set tractions. From here to here, right? Very powerful stuff. But you're constantly existing and evolving yourself through the next game level that you're going to put up. So that puts lines of precog. Just like 2 weeks ago, that means I already set up the game modulation setting that puts me in all in position location existing all at once. If everything is happening constant and it's continuous flow, my body's always in alignment. It's constantly just changing and existing all at once in all position. Okay? So that's how you see yourself there, and that's how you see yourself there. Now, if I change position, okay, that's me there, that's me there. Okay? See? Nothing's changing until I change it to intent. So I'm there, now I'm there. Okay? So it's very powerful when you start to understand how to communicate your settings and levels and also communications. All right, so the window frame opens lines of tractions, 3 lines of angles and flex over a screen. Okay, directing lines, position of the process, communication settings of angles of communication setting, open window frames, triangulation inside track correlations, box frame triangulation system, inside tractions. Set lines of direct signals to ground lines of surface travel. Okay? All right, so I'm positioned up here, and then I jump onto the triangulation. See, I jumped from there to there, right? Now, I spin through cycles on ground lines of 1, process lines of 2, process lines of 3, setting communication lines of center and set positional levels, setting energetic dome and screen adaptation of teleportation. I'm in a teleportation vessel now. Now, I'm constantly going to change position. I'm going to open this portal and travel through the metric screen lines adaptation of the process line. That puts all communication setting all through traffic communications, inside and outside traction. So everything's constantly existing and evolving all at once, guys. And the more you understand how to go through this, the more you can have fun through your imagination core. It's line position of all levels, not just the imagination itself, but understanding how to direct and redirect signals and changing the modification grounds, the powers, and the atmospheres, and everything, your highways and your planets, all at once, guys. All through communications. Very powerful, all lines of story. Self-telling the operations in that positions, okay? That comes in all lines, high center locations, reminding yourself of you of what you're doing is all levels of creating, okay? Ground lines of surface interactions, or direct line signals and communication lines of surface and track communications. All through setting, okay? But it's all inside you. So whatever you create inside, you're creating it from outside that changes your reality. If you get in position, okay, let's get in ground lines of surface. Got position lines of 1, platforms 1, 2, and 3 angles, okay? All right, so you got a chair. All right, there's a chair. Let's get in that positions. This is a chair and set tractions. Okay, that's a chair, all right? All right, so now you're here and you're going, let me see, I want to change the chair, right? So changing the chair is changing the communication of your realities of the chair itself that changes your thoughts. So now you're in reality. This is your reality, okay, which is your outer course, your inner course, the inset position, okay? So the chair itself, the mind itself, in reality, you pick up the chair and move it, okay, in the mind by itself. So you levitate it and you moved it. You moved it here, you moved it there. You moved the chair here, you moved it here. So I'm just trying to get you guys how this all works in the mind of itself, the concepts of location setting to inception. So it's very powerful stuff when you start living inside position, outside, inside of you. That's how you're able to change things. That's how you're able to move things. That's how you basically, no, let's put the mat over here. But you did it from inside your mind, which is inside through instruction, which is your holographic city. So you're actually inside the high set position, the outside line is inside of you. You're actually playing the Minecraft game through creating. And that's what you're doing through the mind of inception. You're constantly changing things that changes everything inside, that changes everything in reality in real time. Very powerful stuff. Okay? So your holographic city is inside you. And all you're doing is just expanding and evolving and getting the higher lines of intel, higher lines of process, higher lines of access, higher lines of communications, all levels of you inside of you. So whatever you're doing here changes everything in reality. Okay? Very powerful stuff and tractions. Okay? Let's get in a triangulation box and set position inside tractions. Flux over 3 is 3 settings and 3 travels. Change the point graph and window frame communications. All right? Signify lines into process calculation and road graphs. Setting lines into location grid. Okay? Setting ground lines to surface. Remember, I'm changing the angles in set position. In that tractions, when I'm comfortable, basically I change everything in set tractions. Going in this signify and position lines of window frame, box frame, triangulation frame of flux communication. Directing signal lines of grounds and travel in point lines of graph of the structure of its building at 3 angles of point lines of communication. Sending communication high positional levels, changing lines of platform and track communication in another building. Process line calculates lines of 3rd building, set position here. Sending ground lines of 3, road graph communication lines of screen. Sending process communication system all through travel. Okay? So all you're doing is you're constantly changing your mind. You're constantly changing your mind through schematics. So everything you're changing inside is changing outside. And that's where your thoughts, your action, emotions come in. Very quick, very fast. But see, the thing is, you're controlling your system now with your thoughts and your action and emotions, which is more powerful now. What you have to start to identify is how to see yourself living inside yourself in set position. It's like basically seeing yourself in your house, but it's inside, outside, inside of you. If you get a box frame and a triangulation flux, okay, you're inside your house in set position of 3 settings. Okay, so you're here, right? And there's your TV right here in travel. Okay, and you're just basically sitting down on the chair in set position. Okay, so you're looking into that, right? So you're watching TV at a 3 angle. Now, if you want to basically change anything, if the angles are off, you get up and you move it. So that's what changes the reality. You get up yourself in your physical realm, which is your metaphysical system. You get up and you move the TV. That changes everything in your reality. And then you sit back down and continue watching TV. That's how everything is done in the mind, guys. But it's all inside of you. You're existing all at once. And everything you come in position, you're changing your thoughts, action, emotions. That's inside of you. Nothing outside. Nothing is created outside. Outside is inside. Inside is outside. Inside of you. And the more you understand that, the more you understand what's going on in your travels. If you're in your position locations in a box frame in your car, track communications, this is your car. Okay? This is you inside the car, inside your box of the car, in reality, in set position. Right? So let's say basically you want to do a U-turn. Well, you do the U-turn in your mind first, right? So you do the U-turn like this and travel, right? So you do this in set position. You on travels and direct signals, ground lines of setting, processing communications, all direct signal locations, changes your thoughts, changes all communication setting, high travels, and communicates to a system, right? Very powerful stuff, going this way and that way, right? So you automatically do that in reality in your real time. Hooah! So this is an ongoing existence. That's the game level that you're in, is the life of you inside of you, living the existing of you inside of you, changing everything in set position. Your thoughts, your action, emotions makes you in position going through a U-turn. Okay? Booyah! It's wild, isn't it? It's like, woo! Boy, that opens a lot now. It opens up so much more now. Once you come into the actual set position to understand living the existence of all levels of existing inside of you in seconds, minutes, and hours in frame. And that's what changes your thoughts, because you're doing it from inside as you see yourself inside in the structure of this division in set position location to its locations and all levels of attractions inside of you. Okay, all through setting. Okay? All right, setting attractions. All right, so you're looking at the structure of a building. Okay, you're looking at a building. This is all inside you now. Remember, your life is inside you. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to be prepared. Floor records of time centers. Okay, set in position here, and you're gonna walk here, and there's the door. Okay, so you're inside the door now and travel. Okay, so somebody's coming outside the door in platform communication setting and travel. Point lines of graph and platforms over set position lines of travel communications, right? So what you're going to do in that position locations, you're going to enter your thoughts, action, motions, and you're going to open up the door for that person and travel. Okay? They walk out in set position. Voila. But you do it from inside of you. Your life force is inside you. It's a constant, continuous flow. Your reality is all inside of you. That's what was the missing piece. Hooah. See? It's the inversion now that you guys will be in. So that's going to be weird because I'm telling you right now, this is what you have to really focus on because there's no lines of high position. Everything you guys were dreaming was inside of you. That was the interpretation. So now it's the inversion of the mind of conceptual system that puts everything in lines of calculation setting to conception. Hooah! Very powerful stuff, isn't it, Jips? Okay, all through tractions, right? So what you're doing is you're doing emotional systems inside the game level that you're in, but you're existing inside. So everything you do inside, you come into your thoughts, that's already set, that's already done, it's already in position. So you already done everything in the mind. What you understand is that the conceptual setting, getting up and opening up the door for that person as they can walk out. But you're doing it from inside of you as Minecraft. But you're constantly creating the game levels of you that put you in higher formations of you through intel. And when you come into that, you start to understand how to use that through the collective and picking up new data, picking up new intel, picking up this, picking up that, picking up here, picking up there. That's what you're doing. You're collecting new data. So when you get into access, your position lines are 2050, 2060, okay, and 2080, okay, and 3000 is that position. Okay, so and your position is here, 2025. Okay, set position income lines, of course, centers lines of 27, set chart communications into 2030, into 2034. Okay, that's your living cycles. Cancel out. All right. So not only it speeds up the modification of the mind of the anomaly and set position lines of travels, but it has a high course communications. Cancel at 2025, cancel at 2000 line position 26, and position 2027, lines at 2028, and position lines at 2029 into 2030, and center operation of U interaction in high position of in and out in audio. Setting course, senders lines of travels, sending direct signals modification grounds. Anything you change in thoughts is already changed. Sets positional locations over here and through lines of settings. Flux over screen, 2050. Bounce communication lines of grounds. Platforms set position location ready in position lines. And 3 communications, 3 centers, past, present, and future all at once in 2060. Setting communication lines of ground core centers, over lines of sequence. Back and 0, travel point lines of graph. Center core system lines of travel. Modification setting high travels in point line graph, 2000. 0, lines of 80, and rotation system all through travel. Directing lines of signals, process lines of 0, process lines of 1, process lines of 3, process lines of 4, process lines of 6, 8 lines of 12, and 24 line position lines of 144 platform. Directing signal lines, core centers of 3000 air, and set position of seconds, minutes, and hours. Hooah. All at once. All at once. All communications all at once. Okay? So that's how this works. In lifetime, in existing high formations inside position attractions. Okay? Very powerful stuff where you can be anywhere you want in real time. I just showed you in that positions, but you've got to create the energetic dome. Okay? Because you're going to high lines of frequencies. See, 2050 has a dome. Okay? So this is what it is. You start off with your house. Okay, you start off with your house, box frame triangulation, there's your house, right? From a house, you go into a dome. That's the set position lines of setting. That's the dome. Go from that to that, right? And then you get into the structures of the buildings, right? Energetic dome and flux of screen adaptations of flux communications. 2080. All right. So it's very powerful stuff. How to see everything involving you, all levels of you inside of you, living the existence inside and through the Minecraft in real time. And track lesions. Very powerful stuff, guys. Very powerful stuff. Okay. So I think you guys are getting a little bit more understanding how this all works now in travel. How you go through your particle systems, how you go through atoms and molecules, protons. Because that's all inside you, right? Everything that you do is inside. Your dreams, everything interpretation is inside of you, like Minecraft. The position location is all levels of you coming to the existing of you and evolving yourself and each other inside you and each other. And that's high position location of your quantum self. That's inside of everything that looks outside of inside of its setting. But what changes that is the intent. So if you're changing that intent, you're changing the game levels of you of Minecraft inside of you. That affects your reality, everything outside you in real time. Okay? Very, very powerful stuff. Okay? Yes, it is a quantum dance of variables. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yes. Yeah. But I'm just trying to get you guys more levels and set positions. Once you guys go inside position, outside, inside, it gets a lot more easier to understand that in a living existence affirmation setting. Okay? Because nothing you do is outside of you. Now, once you get into that through integration system, through your settings, it gets much easier to understand how to get in that positions. But what you're doing in the mind first, your thoughts are already there. And your reality gets very confused. It doesn't know where it is. But if there's existing all lines of signals and everything is happening and changing all at once, everything comes into balance of the mind, the heart, the soul, and the body, guys. All in alignment. Not only that, but you understand how to control yourself inside in the game levels of you and the next levels of the game and the characters of the players that you bring inside the game. That's what puts everything all together. It's just existing and evolving and expanding with yourself and each other. Okay? That's it through equation. All right. See you guys in 5.